I'm going to just do a little verbal to get started with. Thank you for coming to the 2022 Slowpitch experienced umpire session. It's not a whole lot different than our one we did last week with the beginning umpires, but we got a few different topics. So, we're having the people in this clinic that have a little bit more experience. So thanks for being here. We're going to get into introductions when Dallas gets to the slide. As far as housekeeping issues, try to mute yourself, and then your video as well. And then, at some point we can open up on the videos and we can do some visiting. But for now, let's get started. Dallas.
All right, thanks, Tom. One other thing that Tom may not have mentioned is if you do have questions during the meeting, please use the chat feature that's down in the bottom of your screen for most of you folks. And we'll try to monitor that between our sessions and our topics. So we'll try to address those as they come up, but go ahead and type in the chat. We're going to keep everybody muted. As people come in, Tom will hit the mute button to make sure they are. And again, you're not required to have video on. So if there's a little lag or anything, turn your video off. Sometimes that helps. So I'm going to jump into start sharing my screen here for the presentation, and we'll get things rolling for everybody. Come on, technology. Here we go. All right. I'll turn my video off. All right, so everybody, welcome. You should be expecting to be in the Slowpitch umpire training for umpires with more than 3 years of experience. So like Tom mentioned, we've broken these out, these Zoom trainings, content and material wise, based on levels of experience. We had last week a beginning umpire session, and we covered some remedial items, but basic items that we want to make sure that all the new umpires have as a base of knowledge. And for you folks, since you're a little more seasoned, we wanted to put some pertinent information together that's going to apply to you. So we'll jump into it here. There we go. So with us, we've got Tom Keller. Tom is our state umpire in chief. He's based out of Sartell, Minnesota, up in the central area. And I am Dallas Affelbacher, the District 3 umpire in chief. I'm based out of Egan. Work with the communities, basically Shakopee, over to Hastings, up to the North Metro. Or I'm sorry, yeah. So there's our info. It is on our website if you need to contact us. But those are the folks you'll be hearing from tonight. I'll be speaking for a majority of the content. Tom will chime in. We'll have some videos and we'll keep things rolling for you here. So for tonight, we're going to review some pitching rules, just some highlights. And a lot of these things are items that have come up over the past year or years, because we've had some shortened COVID seasons and things that we want to make sure people are clear on. Strike zone, just a little refresher on that. Game management, we've got some talking points to hopefully assist you with game management to make things go smoother for you. As always, we talk about the new rules, rule changes, and we do have some test questions from the past that people have had some issues with across the state. So we want to make sure everybody has that base of knowledge. Some other rules, points of emphasis, just a couple umpire signals, not so much how to do them, but why we do them. We'll talk about umpiring opportunities. Obviously, the uniform changed a couple of years ago, and Tom will wrap up with the registration process as that is ever changing for us. So while I'm on this, we're attempting to use technology to make your lives easier, as opposed to us all attending a meeting in a location, in a classroom, to travel to take a night off of work. We're presenting material in this format for this year, and hopefully we get better attendance and we get folks that wouldn't maybe traditionally have attended because of restrictions. The other nice part is we are taping these sessions so that other umpires that come in, maybe they couldn't make this evening's meeting, they come in and start new during the season. We've got some information out there for them that they can review to help them as they're on the field throughout the summer here. Same thing with the registration process. We're attempting to make it easier for everybody and kind of streamlined. So Tom will talk about the changes with that when we get to that point. So we'll jump into the rule side of things. Everything that we talk about rule-wise is direct from this year's rule book, 2022. There were limited hard copies printed of the rule book because just with other things in our life, we are moving towards electronic. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got some electronic device. So the old paper copies, there is far and few to available to us. So for the experienced umpires, go ahead and go to usasoftball.com. There's a tab that says official rule book, and you can download the rule book. There's no cost. In the past, there used to be costs and fees to download the rule book. That is no longer. So I've done it. I've used it. It works great. You can search it a lot easier and jump to specific topics as opposed to flipping pages. So, but everything we talk about will be based out of there. So we're going to get into pitching rules. Again, these are all slow pitch based and just some high points and why we're talking about them. So the big one here, the pitcher must come to a full and complete stop with the ball in front of the body. The body must face the batter, and this position must be maintained at least 1 second before starting the delivery. There's a few things in here, but it all revolves around that pitcher must stop. They can't walk into the pitching plate and no stop and walk through it and deliver the ball. The body must be forward. It can be sideways as well, as long as we're not looking at their back and they're not throwing it behind their back. And that's purely for safety. So, but the big thing that we want to make sure everybody's on the same page with is that step on the pitching plate, stop for 1 second with the ball in front of the body. It can be in the glove or the hand. We don't have to see it, but the ball needs to be in front of the body for 1 second before starting that delivery. The delivery is a continuous motion. And what we mean by that is pitchers are getting more creative, especially those of you that umpire either higher level leagues or in tournaments, to where they're bringing their arm back, they're stopping with their arm, but their body's still moving. So nothing in the rule says that the arm has to be in continuous motion, but the delivery. So for those players that decide they want to pull their arm back, still have their body moving forward, that's all part of the delivery. There's been some misinterpretation of this rule in the past. So that's why we're talking about this, to where umpires have called it an illegal pitch because that that player brings their arm back and stops it, even though their body's moving forward with their step or another part of their motion. So the delivery is a continuous motion, not the arm. Keep that in mind. Another point that comes up over the years is what do we do with the pivot foot and what do we do with the other foot? The pivot foot is the foot that remains in contact with the pitching plate. Aside from that, we don't care what they do with their other foot. They can step forward, they can have it out to the side, they can go backwards. As long as one foot is in contact with that pitching plate, we're in good shape there. And the step is simultaneous if taken with the release of the ball. They're not required to step, but if they do, it's with the release of the ball. Pitch shall be delivered on the throwing arm side of the body and not behind the back or through the legs. That's pretty self-explanatory. If it's a right-handed pitcher, they bring the ball back on the right side of their body and they release it from the right side of their body, vice versa for left-handed pitchers. And this is always interpretation here. The ball shall be delivered with a perceptible arc and reach a height of at least 6 feet from the ground, while not exceeding a maximum height of 10 feet from the ground. So the talking point here is the perceptible arc. Just because of a pitch reaches 6 feet and crosses the batter across the chest doesn't mean that it's a strike. It has to have an arc on it. And what that means is the ball goes up and is coming down. In our game, we don't watch to see where the ball lands in the regards of calling a strike, unless it's going to hit the plate. So we need to just be aware that it has an arc and is at least 6 foot from the ground and not exceeding 10 foot from the ground. You can determine how you figure out what 6 and 10 feet are. There's different methods to do it, lots of different ways, but what works for you is what you should go with. This one's new. The pitcher has 5 seconds to release the next pitch after receiving the ball or after the umpire indicates play ball. We'll cover that more in the new rules section after this. Quick pitch. The pitcher shall not attempt a quick return of the ball before the batter has taken a position in the box or when the batter is off balance. So in order for a legal pitch to be delivered, the batter must be in the batter's box. So if they step out, that doesn't mean that the pitcher can pitch it, because another rule does say the batter must be in the batter's box for a legal pitch to be delivered. So that comes up in some local tournaments or local leagues that, again, misinterpretation of some rules. So just keep in mind that, again, we need to have that pause. The batter needs to be set in the box, and then we can deliver. Tom, we got some up in the chat.
I actually just put a reminder in there. That's where the questions will come from.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Warm-up pitches. This is actually came up at a national championship, and that's why we're talking about it here. So at the beginning of each half inning, or when a pitcher relieves another, not more than 1 minute may be used to deliver no more than 3 warm-up pitches, and play is suspended during this time, especially if it's during the inning. So the issue here we've had is the shortstop, while running out to his position during the half inning, picks up the ball and decides he wants to throw one to home plate for whatever purpose. The issue we've had is, again, misuse of this rule, misinterpretation. Somebody told that player that they now have to pitch because they threw a warm-up pitch, and that's not the case. The only thing our warm-up pitches rule talks about and dictates is how many pitches and the time that it takes to throw those pitches. So if he threw 1 pitch and the pitcher comes out and he throws 2, that's all we're going to have. He doesn't get 3 warm-up pitches because the shortstop used 1. So please be aware of this. We're talking about pitching rules because 85% of the slow pitch game revolves around the pitcher and what goes on there. And we want to make sure everybody's on the same page with those. So if any of that other stuff is not followed, we've got an illegal pitch. Obviously, if the batter swings at a pitch we call illegal, whatever happens when they swing the bat happens. We're going with that. If they don't swing, regardless of what the pitch is, a ball is called on the batter. Pretty straightforward. So strike zone, we'll just briefly discuss a strike zone again. This is the experienced group. So the strike zone in the slow pitch game is the front knee and the back shoulder. And we want to call the pitch as if the batter is positioned at the plate. At times, we know they like to stand way in front of the plate. And at times, we know they like to move all the way back in the batter's box towards the catcher and us. So it's our job to envision them while standing at the plate regarding where we're calling that strike. It's not where in the ground does the ball hit. The only reason we look down is to see if it's going to hit the plate or not. But make sure we use that front knee and back shoulder and call the pitch as if they are positioned at the plate. Tom, we got a question?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, thank you. I just see that ticker change. So, all right, moving on to some game management material here. Big thing with the game of slow pitch is it's 98% of it is adult slow pitch. So we're dealing with multiple adults that might be out for their local league night, might be in a competitive tournament, but it's their time and they're out there and they want to have a good time. But when things go awry, or even if they don't, it seems like each 11 player on the field and on each team want to have their say in something. So some of these things will help you manage your way kind of through your evening and your tournament. But first of all, know your local league rules. And what do we mean by that? Most of the things we talk about are in the national rule book, but for local league play and even for tournament play, there might be different home run rules. So For a C team, we allow 2 home runs at the national level, while your local league night might allow 4, they might allow 6, they might do a 1-up rule, but you want to make sure you know what those home runs are. How many batters are we allowing? Again, our rule book states that we can bat up to 11. Well, based on participation for leagues and even some tournaments, they allow those teams to bat as many batters as they like to make sure that people that show up are able to participate. So you might be batting 14 batters on a given night. Just know what you're allowed to bat based on the game that you're umpiring. Courtesy runner rule, know what the league or the tournament courtesy runner rule is. It's going to help you navigate your way through. If there's run rules in place for the tournament or for your league, know what those are. Time limits. So the national rule book doesn't have any time limits on their games, but most of the time in our league play, we've got time limits so that we can get 3 to 4 games in on a given night on a given field. So know what those time limits are and make sure you announce them to the coaches or the managers. So we want to know at the end of the night, who reports the game scores and where do they go? Does the umpire have to report who won and what the scores were? Do the teams do it? Is there a website? Do you email somebody? How is that communicated? So know some of those things about your local league. And obviously co-ed rules if you are umpiring a co-ed game, because those are, again, participation based primarily in leagues and even for tournaments. So we can have enough players participate and everybody that's there gets to participate. And it might not be an equal number of men and women. So how do we handle that in the field and as well on defense? All right, keep it moving. So before each game, whether it's a league, whether it's a tournament game, have a manager meeting, coaches meeting, whatever title you want to put on it, where the umpire meets with a coach or manager from each team at home plate. We're going to discuss what the local tournament or league rules are that differ from the USA softball rule book. We're going to confirm who the home team is, whether it's via a coin flip or whether it's noted on their league schedule, because we all know from experience, those teams come in on a Tuesday night and they're coming in hot out of the car at 6 o'clock or 6:30, and they are going to ask you, who's the home team? Tom, we got a question up there.
Yeah, we do, as long as we're still pretty close to it. We have Phil asking, discuss the courtesy runner rule.
Okay, we'll get to that when there's another slide up the way, Phil. So thanks for chiming in. We do discuss the specific USA softball courtesy runner rule in a couple slides here. So back to game management, what we need to do to make our life go easier, but to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Again, confirm that home team. Verify the team representative. And what that is that's one person from each team that us as umpires are going to communicate with when we have questions or things we need to have addressed, but also who's going to talk to us from the team when they have questions, concerns, or issues. Again, we don't want to be fielding questions from 11 players on each team when things come up. It makes your life a lot easier, a little more orderly and keeps things smooth. So just verify who that is. Is it the person at the coaches meeting? Is it somebody else on the team? Because that individual that's at the manager meeting just happened to be there and he's the lucky guy with the coin flip. So just confirm who you're going to utilize as that team representative. If you have a time limited game, announce the start time. And I'm not talking so it echoes off the outfield fence. We're just announcing it to the 2 representatives that are in front of us at that manager meeting. So they know, hey, we've got 8:02 for a start time, no new inning after 55 minutes. So everybody's on the same page and we've informed the people that need to know. During the game, this comes up more times than not, but keep and report scores each half inning. When I say keep, I don't mean that we are writing them down as runners are scoring, but at the half inning, get the score from the team that just got done batting. How many runs did they score? And report it to the other team. so they can note it in their book if they want. If not, we've told them. If there is an issue with this, whether it's in a game or a tournament, because we don't have official books, we have 2 different teams keeping their books. If there's an issue, have the teams get together and they report to you what the official ruling is or score is after they've conferred with each other. Don't stop the game for this. Keep it moving. Again, if we have a time limit game, we don't want to waste time on this, but this is a big headache saver, is you put that back on the teams to figure out how many runs scored and who wrote it down correctly. I'm going to tell you, more times than not, the defense that was out there misses a run because their official bookkeeper was doing something else. So 1 on deck batter and everybody else in the dugout. That is a rule in our book, but it also creates less headache for you. If a ball gets away, now I know some tournaments allow other things, but in the instances where you can utilize this rule, it's a great one to use and keeps issues down. This one is not only should be local, it's tournament, it's statewide, it's nationwide. So no smoking or drinking on the field of play. And the field of play is anywhere where the ball is deemed live. So basically everything inside the fence line that we're managing. So keep that all behind the fence, in the dugout, wherever, whatever your local league rules allow, but it's never allowed on the field. Whether somebody is coaching a base, whether they're walking out in between the half inning and taking a few less drags of their smoke, we've all seen it, but keep that off the field. We're there to play softball for 55 minutes on a Tuesday night or for the tournament game. We can hold off half an inning without those items. And some keywords that will help you manage 11 adults per team is batter up and play ball. So we use those things. It's not, hey, come on, let's go, or hustle up, or any of that stuff. It's batter up and play ball. You use those words, you'll keep people moving. It's more professional, and it's not like we're hounding them. We're just keeping the game moving. Because even though one team wants to take their time, we're cutting to that other team's time as well to play, especially if we have time limited games. So use that batter up and play ball to keep stuff moving at the plate, and things will go a little smoother for you. During the game as well, we kind of mentioned this already, but communicate with team representative only. Whoever that individual is, when we have questions or they have questions, that's who we're going to go to, and that's who's going to be communicated with. Hold up play is needed at the plate, so wait till that batter gets set and ready. We talked a little bit about the quick pitch, but it just might be them initially getting set before the pitch happens for their initial at bat. And then in between pitches, if we have to hold up play, use that hand opposite the batter to do that. Call time after each play. This is literally written in our mechanics manual, but after the play happens, all the runners are stopped at their bases. Go ahead and call time so we can turn around and head back towards the plate. It doesn't have to be that the pitcher has the ball. Basically, we just want to ensure that all runners are stopped at their bases and done advancing, and we can call time and head back to the plate. And warning in ejections, they may happen. And usually when somebody gets ejected, they want to be at that point. So whether it's using inappropriate language, throwing equipment, doing something dumb, and more times than not, if somebody does get ejected, their fellow teammates appreciate you kicking them out because they're not any fun to be around anyways. And finally, one thing in the tournament situations is make sure you manage your substitutions. So we have specific reentry rules with substitutions, and as well, those things need to be reported to us. We don't traditionally ask for lineup cards in our invitational or local tournaments, but once a substitution happens, make sure that somebody gives those changes to us. So, Tom, do I see some questions pop up?
Yeah, we got a couple. Uh,
Sure.
Phil asks, is there a time or any constraint on correcting an erroneous report of score?
Phil, there's not. That's a good question. Good management, game management would tell you that once a team gives it to you and we're playing on with the next half inning, we're going to keep moving on, because if they report it to us, say in inning 3 that they got 4 runs, they come back to us in inning 6 and say, no, we got 5 runs. That changes the way that game is played. So it's their job and responsibility, is my approach and philosophy, when we're umpiring a league game or even a tournament game, that they've got that option and opportunity to give it to us. That's why we also report it to the other team at the same time, so that if there are issues or questions, they can address them with each other at that time. And we're not 3 or 4 innings later trying to go back. I mean, it might affect a run rule. It might affect substitutions, home runs, all sorts of different things. So there's nothing hard set in stone in the national rule book, but I can tell you just from a game management side of things, kind of once it's reported, unless they come back in a timely fashion, and you can use the word timely however you like, but I don't deem an inning or 2 later to be timely. Anybody else?
We
Yep.
have another one than Dallas when you're done.
Sure, go ahead.
And I would agree. That's a good comment, Dallas. There isn't a hard and fast rule on it, but that's why we also, once we get the score, we'll announce it. It's whatever, 4-3, bottom of 3, something like that. So hopefully that if they're gonna, find out they have an error, they're gonna find out right away. We got a question from Ryan Long. It says, when there's a difference in teams' books, how can we continue and they keep score if they are trying to figure out whose book is right?
Usually they're just addressing that 1/2 inning. Again, this is why we talked about it being timely and when it's reported. We can keep playing. They can still keep book. Them having 1 or 2 run difference in an inning is going to get rectified within a batter or 2. Historically, that's what I've seen happen. And again, more times than not, it's an issue with the defense wasn't paying attention, their bookkeeper. And the whole point is they have to have a book, right? So both teams need to keep a book if they want to say that that score was wrong or incorrect. Again, it's not on the umpires to keep the score during the inning. It's just to record it at the half inning and report it to the other team. Hopefully that answers Ryan's question.
Okay, and that's all we have for now.
Thank you. We'll keep moving here. Just back with the game management topic here. During the post game, what are we going to be doing? So leave the field in a timely fashion, especially if there were controversy, whether teams were at each other's throats, whether we were the center of it, whatever it means. Basically, don't hang around and be a target. If the game is over, make sure we've allowed everybody an opportunity or the last play to protest, and we have the scores reported for that last half inning and inform the other team. And then we can make our way away from the field. Even though you might be doing 3 or 4 games on a field in a given night, doesn't mean you have to stand at the backstop and wait for everybody to pass you. So don't socialize with teams or players while in uniform. Everybody here, again, this should be the experience level, should understand this. But let's say you are socializing with the white team that didn't even play on your field tonight, when the games are over and you're in your umpire uniform. And next week you have the blue team playing the white team. Well, the blue team saw you socializing with the white team, even though, again, they weren't on your diamond last weekend. So then something comes up in your game for tonight, and the blue team is like, well, yeah, he's buddies with the white team. That's what's going to happen. We don't want to give that perception or that opportunity for those types of scenarios to present themselves. So try not to socialize while you're in uniform. We're all friends with the players. Like, we're around them a bunch. I get it. But just choose your place, choose your time when you want to talk to those folks. And again, don't do it officially in uniform just to draw attention to yourself. Know how to handle your scores and softballs. We talked about that. Do we leave the softballs with the teams? Do we give them back to the city? Do they go to little kids? Is there a centralized location we drop them? The same thing with the scores. If you have scorecards at a tournament, where do they go to? Or if it's a league game, how do we handle those scores for the night? And the big thing is, if you have any issues throughout your evening, your tournament, whatever it is, before the game, during the game, or after the game, make sure you contact your assigner with any of those issues, because they're going to be communicated to with the league director. They're going to talk to the tournament director. Whatever venue we're at, there's going to be some additional discussion. And even though you might not think it's a big deal, the teams and players oftentimes turn it into more than it is. And if your assigner's hearing about it for the first time from a tournament director or league director, it makes their life easier if you've already given them a heads up on it. Okay. Final thing on a couple notes on game management. Everybody's out there and it's a competition. Even though it might be a Tuesday night E-League softball game and we're just out there having fun, everybody's competitive when they're playing to some extent, some more so than others. And we all understand that from officiating. So keep that in mind. Like, just because it's a low level game, we don't want to umpire down to the level of that game. We want to umpire to our level. So it's the old adage, practice like you play. What usually happens is it's an E-League game, and I use E because I think that's the lowest one I know of. And well, it's just E. It's not a big deal. To these folks, it is a big deal because it's their night out. They pay league fees. They dedicate their time and evening to go play softball. Yes, they're with their friends, but guess what? While they're on the diamond, they are competitive. So just keep those things in mind and umpire like you are umpiring, one of the highest level games that you can umpire, and things will go well. If you do everything right and don't umpire down to a level, then you'll be in good shape. Big thing is have fun. Like, we're all out there because we enjoy the game. We enjoy the atmosphere. We usually enjoy the players, but be out there and have a good time. That's what it all comes down to. All right. I didn't see any more questions pop up. So we'll move on to the rule changes. And Phil, when we get to it, we'll talk about the courtesy runner rule in this section here for you. So rule change, and this is slow pitch specific, or that we deal with it in the slow pitch game at least, but it for those bats that we've seen in the past that have a molded finger grip, the rubber flare cone is the most prevalent one that we see. In the past, they used to have to be attached with tape. And again, this was for safety reasons because they get wet and slide off. Well, they've deemed now that those compounds that they use aren't that slippery, and they do not have to be attached with grip tape. So we'd see that more so in the weekend tournaments when we're doing bat checks, or the state tournaments and national championships. But just let everybody know, because it does come up in league play discussion, hey, I went to this tournament, they made me tape this on. That is no longer the rule. Here's a big one in the slow pitch game we'll spend a little time on here, but the pitcher has 5 seconds to release the next pitch after receiving the ball. So the previous rule was 10 seconds. Once that pitcher got the ball back from the catcher, they had 10 seconds to release that ball after getting that back. Those of us that work some tournament stuff know that there are some people out there that are basically human rain delays, and they would take 9, 10, probably even 11 seconds. They get the ball back, they catch it, they walk back towards the second base, and they come back to the pitching plate, get set, and then work on releasing the pitch. So that cuts that time in half. And this is going to be an opportunity for us as umpires, 1, to let players know this, and 2, to enforce it. So if they don't release it within that 5 seconds, we've got a legal pitch and a ball on the batter. So keep that in mind, from 10 to 5 seconds, and hopefully that'll speed up games as well. For those time limited games, you'll be able to get more innings in if you're not getting 7 innings in now. That's it for rule changes. So we are going to talk about a few plays. that have come up. And they address some things that we see are common issues where umpires might be getting applications and rules incorrect here. So you can read along here, kind of make note of what's going on. I'll read it, and then the next page will have some options on what's going to happen regarding the outcome of this play. So with a runner on first base, the batter hits a fly deep ball to left center field. The runner that started on first, thinking the ball will not be caught, runs and rounds second. The center fielder makes the catch and throws the ball back to first base to appeal R1 leaving early. When the ball's released, the runner is between second and third base. The ball gets by the first baseman and goes into dead ball territory. So we'll say it rolls into the dugout. When the ball enters dead ball territory, R1 is between second base and first base on their way to tag up at first base. So they're on their way back. So all that in mind, I'm going to switch the page here. We've got 4 options on where we're going to award this runner a base. So in the chat, I see there's 43 roughly participants. Go ahead and enter A, B, C, or D for your answer. And once those start populating, then we'll talk about what the proper award is. So I'll talk through this still in case you forgot the scenario, but the runner leaves first. The center fielder catches the ball when the runner is between second and third base. The runner is running back to first base to go tag up, and they throw the ball. The center fielder throws the ball out of play, trying to get them tagging up at first base. So where are we going to award that runner? Where are we going to place them? So we got about half the people answered there. Tom, you seeing a range of answers in there?
I'm just kind of telling them no.
Oh, sure.
We are seeing just a couple more yet.
That's good. Well,
We're kind of all over the board.
Yep.
You see?
Okay. So we got a lot of different options apparently that people have came up with. So
yeah, the majority selected A.
Okay.
We've got 4 C's,
Okay.
3 B's, and 2 D's. So we're kind of
all right. Good. Well, it's good. It's good. That's why we're talking about these. Is these that came up at kind of the most frequently missed test questions. So I'm just going to flip back the screen quick. And again, the scenario was the batter hits a long fly ball. R1 leaves early. Center fielder catches the ball while the runner has rounded second. So they're between second and third. Throws the ball as they're trying to pick them off, and they're running back to first base on the appeal play. So where do we place the runner? So in this scenario, the runner is going to be awarded home. And how we come up with that is in our game, we award the runner 2 bases from the last base earned at the time of the throw. So what that means is they had already earned second base because they were past second base when this throw was happening. So 2 bases from there is home. Now, we don't care that they have to go back and tag up once that ball is out of play. In order for them to go and touch home, they still do need to tag up legally, go touch all proper bases, and then advance to their awarded base. But the big thing is it's 2 bases from the last base earned at the time of the throw. So hopefully that clears that up for everybody. Again, we don't care that they're going back to tag up because they've already earned second base. What's happening at first base by them throwing the ball is an appeal play, but they don't unearn that base. It's just that they left early. So, all right.
We got a question, Dallas, and I guess I would just emphasize what Dallas is saying. So long story short, time of the throw, not time of the hit, is when you're awarding bases on that.
And
Got a question. It says, how is base earned on an illegal play? Pete, maybe you can unmute yourself and let us know what you mean by that.
If the ball is caught and he takes off takes off before the ball is caught, then round second base realizes the ball is caught and goes to go back. He left the base on an illegal play. So I don't understand how you earn a base that you earned illegally.
sure, I mean, I'm not sure what you're using. I'll answer this as illegal, but they can leave the base whenever they want. Again, it's an appeal play that has to be made to get them out. And that's the onus is on the defense to do that. So it's not like he's earning the base illegally. It's just the defense has to appeal that he left early. So there's nothing illegal he did about that, other than by rule, you can't leave then. And there's a repercussion, but the repercussion is just the out is what the penalty is.
Okay. By my terms, by rule, you can't leave the base until the ball is caught. So to me, that's an illegal play, but I understand what you're saying. So that's fine.
Yep. Oh, thank you.
And then the big thing is, like Dallas said too, is that runner's got to touch all the bases. You know, they've got to go back and make that tag up at first.
Yep. And the other thing that comes up with this is some people get confused about when the ball goes out of play and where the runner is. That's where we award the bases from. But the big thing is where's the runner at the time of the throw, and that ends up going out of play. So that's what we want to make sure that we're aware of. Good questions. Good job. All right, we've got another one here. So again, I'll let you read through it. I'll read it and we'll give the options. So with 2 outs and bases loaded, the batter hits a line drive over the shortstop head and all runners advance 1 base, but R1 misses the plate. R2 gets in a rundown and is tagged out between third and home. After R2 is put out for the 3rd out, R1 goes back to touch home plate because they missed it, and the defense makes a 4th out appeal on R1 for missing the plate. So basically what we have is that runner that was on third doesn't touch home plate for some reason. They overrun it. And then there's a rundown that happens behind him that gives us the 3rd out. And then R1 goes back and touches home plate after that out happens. So here's what the options are going to be. And you can take a look at them. Oh, and I gave the answer already. Oh, that's all right. So the big thing here is this is a timing play. Is step 1, there's a couple rules in play here, but we've considered R1, which is that runner that started on third base. Whenever a runner passes a base, they have considered to have touched it. And again, it's an appeal play if they do not. So R1 passed home plate before that runner behind them got out in the rundown in a tag play. So that's why the run is going to count. And then it also talks about the appeal. So they appealed that, here we go, that they missed home plate, but they did it after home plate was touched. So that's why we count that run. If they would have appealed that, yes, he passed home plate, so they can go tag him, and that's a live ball appeal before he touches home plate, then it wouldn't count. We would literally have 4 outs in that inning. But in this instance, they touched, that runners came back to touch home plate, and the run counts because the appeal came after they've reestablished that base. Any questions on that, Tom?
Yeah, Dallas, we did have a kind of a what if building on that. It
Sure.
says, and basically, what if that runner that missed home plate had left the field of play?
Then it's literally the dead ball appeal because he can't come back onto the base. So as long as he goes out of play before retouching home plate and the defense brings it to our attention, then we'd have the 4th out appeal. So we'd have 4 outs in an inning, and that runner would not, his run would not have counted.
Okay, good one. And then there's one other variation.
Yep.
Can he come back and touch home if the other runner has crossed home behind him?
Yes.
If he
Because
has a field of play, yeah.
Yep. Yes, you can, because again, once you as a runner pass a base, you're considered to have touched it until the defense appeals you haven't, whether a live ball or dead ball appeal. Good questions.
Yeah, they're 2 great questions.
Yeah, and we do, these come up, and we don't make these up like off a whim. These things come up. That's why we're talking about it. So good job, everybody. I like the way everybody's thinking there. So a couple more of these, and then we'll move on to a different topic. R1 is at first base. The batter hits a line drive to the shortstop, who catches and throws to first base to double off R1. So that runner goes back to first base standing and is hit in the back with a throw from the shortstop, and the ball goes into the first base dugout. So everybody clear on that? Runner at first, line drive to short. While that runner's off first base, they try to throw behind him at first base to double him off. And the appeal that he left early again goes off of him and then rolls into the first base dugout. So it goes out of play. So I messed this up again. That's all right. It's all good. The big thing with this one, we're going to give them third base. And again, it's 2 bases from the last base earned at the time of the throw. It seems like one of the sticking points on this has been the throw coming from the infield versus the outfield. In USA softball, it doesn't matter where the throw originates from, whether it's the infield or the outfield. That runner is always going to get 2 bases from where they were when that throw happened. The other side of this is the runners going back to first base. Again, they started at first base, so they'd already earned first base. So we don't take that away from them. And that's where we award based off of. It doesn't matter which direction they're going. I know some of us might umpire other things, whether it's baseball, whether it's different versions of softball, and they might have different rules and applications to that. But in the USA softball rule book, wherever they started from and wherever they were based off the time that throw happened, again, regardless of infield or outfield, they get 2 bases. Okay. And I didn't see any chat questions come up there. All right.
Good.
We're going to work on just a couple of points of emphasis here. These are basically rules based and definition based. So force out is an out which may be made only when a runner loses right to the base that the runner is occupying because the batter becomes a batter runner and before the batter runner or trailing runner has been put out. So what are we talking about here? There's a few things. I think everybody's clear on what a force out is. But not only is a force out when we have a runner on first and the ground ball is shortstop and they throw to second base, is it happens at the base, but a force out is also if there's a runner on first, there's a ground ball to second, and that fielder steps up and tags that runner that's going from first to second. Because they're forced to that next base, it's still considered a force out, even though it was a tag. Another portion of that it seems there's some confusion on is the runners may retreat between bases. So just because you're forced to the next base, so if we've got that runner on first, there's a ground ball to the second baseman goes to tag that runner, they can still retreat towards first base and we don't have any problems there. They might do it just so they don't get a double play, whatever the case might be. But you can still retreat even though you're forced to a base. The only place you can't retreat back to is home plate. Anytime we have a force out, regardless the timing of it or when it happens, the third out of the inning, if it's the third out of an inning, the runs do not score. So let's say we have a slow developing double play and the runner from third touches home plate before the double play happens, or it's not a traditional, I guess, force play because somebody does get in the rundown. just because that runner scores beforehand, if it's a force play, none of those, that run will not count. And we kind of talked about this before, but a tag up, when the defense is having a live ball appeal, so they're throwing to that base that the runner is going back to, that is not considered a force play. That is considered a live ball appeal, and it's a timing play. So we've had issues where you've got a runner on first and third, there's a fly ball with one out, and there's a fly ball to center. The runner from first leaves early. The runner from third tags up and scores. And after that runner scores, they get the third out by throwing to first base to get that runner that was started at first, to get them out. That's not considered a force out. So those runs score. That is a timing play. In order for that run not to score, they do need to make that appeal before that runner from third crosses home. Any questions on that? I'm going to give that a second on the chat.
No, we're good now.
Okay. All right, moving on. So catch, no catch. Just a couple takeaways. You can read through this as I'm talking about kind of what our talking points are here. But the talking points are on a batted ball, there is no time that is going to justify a catch. So if somebody catches a ball on a fly ball, they need to show its voluntary release of that ball. So just because somebody dives and catches it and the ground, they dive and it comes out, just because they had it for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, this isn't football. The ground, can't create a fumble, that type of thing. We don't have that. So in order for it to be established as a catch, there needs to be a voluntary release of the ball, whether it's the fielder reaching into their glove to remove the ball, whether they flip it to their hand, whether they run all the way in with it in their glove and drop it at the pitching plate. As long as it's voluntary, that's going to establish a catch for us. And the second part here, this is something that happens more so at first base, especially in the slow pitch game, is in order for the ball to be considered a catch, it needs to be in the glove or in the hand, not pinned against the body, not glove down, face down on the ground, not showing us the ball. So they need to establish that, especially for like a force play at first, that they have the ball secured in their glove or their hand. And again, that voluntary release. So any questions on that? Fire those into the chat.
We just had one come in.
Yeah.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Runner on second, misses third on a base hit. Defense appeals runner missing third. Does any run score?
So just one more time. Bases loaded, 2 outs.
Runner on second, misses third on a base hit.
Sure. Yeah. So they miss it, like they pass it.
I'm assuming yes.
That's what I'm assuming. So it's still a force play because they're forced to that base. So correct. No runs would score on that if it's a third out because they are forced to that next base.
Yeah, so it wouldn't really be an appeal. The defense would just need to touch the base.
Yeah, live ball appeal or yeah. Okay. So that was okay. 31. We're good there. All right. Let's go back. We are on courtesy runner. Here we go. So the national rule book, slow pitch courtesy runner rule. This is not for seniors. This is just for traditional slow pitch, men's, women's, and co-ed. Any eligible player that may participate on offense or defense and are on the official lineup, including available substitutes, may be used as a courtesy runner. So what this means is anybody that's eligible to be in the game can be a courtesy runner. A courtesy runner may be used once per inning. So we'll stop there. So let's say a team bats around in the inning. Well, we've already used a courtesy runner for that inning, so they don't get to use them again. It's not an individual. but they get one courtesy runner per inning. And in co-ed, now we have 2 courtesy runners are allowed, one for male, one for female. And it says must be of the same gender. And that means a male can run for a male and a female can run for a female. Any questions on that? Okay. And if
Wait
you
a minute.
do,
Hello. So if that same guy that you had to have a courtesy runner for comes to bat the second time around in the same inning, are you saying he doesn't get the courtesy runner then?
yep, that's what the rule says. A courtesy runner may be used once per inning. So there you go.
That's kind of a toughie.
Well, they batted around. I'm not really going to give them a break because they're beating up on the other team. But that's kind of the takeaway to it. We're not going to keep feeding into it if they're batting around in an inning. So,
Okay.
yep. But yeah, just once per inning. And again, if they bat around, they just get them once. I see a couple of questions popped in there, Tom.
Yeah, we got one. The first one is, if a substitute is used as a courtesy runner, are they considered to have been in the game?
They are not. Again, this goes to the participation side of things. This is why USA Softball, part of the reason why this was added, I don't know, what are we on, 6-7 years ago now, is to get people to participate and not exclude them from playing. So just because somebody comes in as a courtesy runner, that does not constitute a substitution for that runner. It's basically a free runner, and substitutes may come back in as needed.
And there's another one. It's more of a statement. Any consideration of changing that rule? I get a lot of flack when the team bats around and get another runner for the same person. No, there hasn't been any discussion about changing that rule. And I think Dallas kind of referred to it. They're already, doing pretty well offensively. So yeah, that's, it's one of the rules that's, it is what it is. So.
Yep, they're already getting a big benefit there. And if they bat around, it's just like they're beating up on the team again. So, okay. Was that all of them?
Go
Yep.
ahead, Rose.
Sorry, I just wanted to chime in just for 1 second. Like the times that I'm considering, like people that are injured, like they can bat, but then they just can't really run. And so, I mean, like they hobble down to first, and then the second time that they're up to bat, I mean, I feel bad for them basically if they're injured and they still have to run. It is all like I'm considering. Like I understand what you're saying, and maybe that's a league thing. I should just ask like Phil and Chad if that's something we can consider in our
Sure.
area.
Yep. So that's the thing, is what we're talking about here is the rule in the national rule book, which we use for national championships, and in Minnesota for Slowpitch, we use it for all of our tournaments. But local league rules may dictate something different because of, again, participation. We don't want people to get hurt on a Tuesday night while running the bases if they're already prematurely injured. Then that is, your leagues can make whatever rules they like. So just make sure you're referencing those. And if you do have suggestions, you can send that through your local league assigners. It's like maybe one more pop.
Go ahead.
One more popped in there, Tom.
Yeah, it's just Chris saying, that is probably the most amended league rule is your courtesy runner, that and home runs. So yeah, it's really on your facility, your community, your park, whatever. So, we're talking about national championship, state tournament rules. So.
Super. Well, thank you. Yeah, if you have another one, drop it in there. I'll watch the chat number, and but we'll keep things going to keep things on time for you. So foul tip. This one is been changed over the years. So foul tip is a batted ball that goes sharply and directly from the bat to the catcher's hand or glove / mitt and is legally caught by the catcher. I'm going to tell you, with the changes that have been made, this is primarily now a fast pitch rule, because regarding slow pitch, back in 2006, we removed the height of the batter's head, and that was in slow pitch for a foul tip. So what this means is basically any ball in the slow pitch game that goes and the catcher has a play on it, they have to move their hand or glove. It doesn't go sharply and directly back to their glove. like it does in the fast pitch game. So anytime that catcher can make that catch, we're going to have an out. And again, 2006, this changed. It seemed like it was about 4 years ago, but here we are. And any questions on this? The whole thing, it used to have to go over the batter's head. We took that out, and any foul ball they have a play on that touches the bat and the catcher catches, we're going to have an out on in slow pitch. Okay. Intentional walk. So we've added this a few years ago. We don't have to pitch the ball anymore. The batter can just head down to first base. But here's some of the things that we have ran into over the past few years. One is if they want to intentionally walk two people. So first of all, the first person must touch first base before they can walk the second. So that's step one. Step two is as soon as they do that, they walk that second person, they cannot appeal. It's just like they've thrown a pitch, anything that happened on a previous play. Here you can see when two successive batters are walked, the second walk can't be administered until the first reaches first base. The other part of this is this makes everybody touch all of the bases. It doesn't mean that, well, yeah, we're going to walk two people, that the batter gets to run directly to second base. They need to touch first, and then we'll administer the walk to the second person. This is the same in co-ed. So when there's a male-female situation and we walk the male batter and the female batter is going to take the walk as well, the male automatically gets second base. Again, they have to touch all the bases, not run directly to second. Some people say, well, it's time saving. It saves you 4 seconds, if that. So that's not the case. Make sure everybody's touching the bases, because again, if he misses first, then the other team can appeal, and by rule, they're going to be correct. And then once that male touches second base or first base, then we can allow the female to head down to first base. I see we got a question that popped up.
No, we're good. It's just a comment.
Okay, thank you.
Well, now we got one.
All right.
On a foul tip, does first contact have to be the glove, or can the catcher catch the foul after it hits any part of the catcher's body?
Yep. So we don't have foul tip anymore. is basically, so that's just going to be a straight foul ball. It would just be like if a first baseman takes a ball off some other part of their body and catches it. So foul tip is not a used term in the slow pitch game anymore. So any play the catcher makes where they catch it, if it bounces off their body, we're going to be good with that, because none of it's going to be judged a foul tip anyways, because nothing is going sharply and directly back to the hand or glove. Okay. And
we got one more.
Sure.
And I presume it's on an intentional walk. It says, what if a person is getting a courtesy runner? That batter still needs to get to first base.
Yep. So our rule reads that the batter or batter runner has to touch all of the bases they've been awarded. And that's what a walk is we're awarding them first base. So they still need to go down and touch it. And then they can get that runner out to the base that they were awarded to, whether it was first base or second base in the co-ed game. Okay. Good questions. I like it. Infield fly. So infield fly, a fair fly ball, not including a line drive, which can be caught by an infielder, pitcher, or catcher. So anybody within the dirt, infielder, pitcher, or catcher with ordinary effort, and this is the part about it, is ordinary effort, and that's when first and second, or first, second, and third are occupied with less than 2 outs. So a couple things here. One, it's caught with ordinary effort. So what that means is if we see 2 fielders coming together and they can't decide who's going to catch the ball, and you read that as the umpire, like, there's 2 or 3 people coming together behind the pitcher and nobody's taking the initiative to get it, and it falls between them. Just because it's a fly ball in the infield doesn't mean it's an infield fly. Same thing if we have heavy wind or some other factors out there, is just because a ball is in the infield doesn't mean it's going to be an infield fly. And where we hear the most grief on it is when the play is not made in the infield, the defense comes out and begs for the infield fly. Well, this rule is not intended to get an automatic out for the defense. It's to protect the offense from the defense intentionally dropping or not catching the ball and then getting multiple outs. So a double play or triple play. So keep that in mind when people don't make the play in the infield and the defense is begging for the infield fly. And the same token, make sure all the criteria is met when you call this. Now, it does have to be a fair fly ball. So just because we call infield fly, if the ball ends up foul, it's not an infield fly. There's no outs because it didn't end up to be a fair ball. Any questions on those?
It says, what about a rover?
If they are deemed to be an infielder, so we number the players, you'll have to determine where they start. So if you deem they start in the outfield, then they're an outfielder. So depending where that rover, whatever the fifth infielder, whatever title you're giving them, if you deem that they're starting in the outfield, then that would not be considered an infield fly. But again, keep in mind, this is to protect the offense. So if you think that that person can let the ball drop to the ground and they can get multiple outs based on where they're positioned, let's protect the offense in these situations.
Here's another one. And I think if we really think about it, it says, can it be in the grass? Look at the definition of an infield fly. You know, we don't say it has to be in the dirt. It has to be caught by an infielder, pitcher, or catcher. So I think just by reading the definition, you can answer that one. So yes, it can be in the grass.
Yeah, because we know in the slow pitch game, our infielders, depending on what the cut of our fields are, the level of play, a lot of our infielders are starting in the grass anyways, just because the bases are longer, they have more time to make the play, they have stronger arms, they're more athletic, and the ball gets on them a lot quicker now with the bat technology and the ball technology. So in some instances, you might have 3 of our 5 infielders are positioned in the grass to start with. Okay. All right, moving on. Interference. So this is the act of an offensive player or team member that impedes, hinders, or confuses a defensive player attempt to execute a play, and contact is not necessary. So we've got a few qualifying factors here. Is we don't need contact for there to be interference. If a infielder is charging a ball and the offensive runner is there and they stop, we might have interference because they hindered their ability to keep charging that ball and make the play. If a runner stops in front of a defender, that is considered interference if they don't just continue straight on their path, without making contact. But if they decide to stop, slow down, or stand in front of that defensive player and then move at the last minute, then we're going to have interference there because now we're talking about either confusing or impeding their progress to that ball. So runners need to yield, either stop, go around, in front of, behind, and allow that fielder that's making the play the opportunity to field the batted ball. Too many times we'll have the runner run straight from second base to third base while the shortstop is trying to make the play, and they make contact with them, knock them over, whatever, and their excuse is, well, I'm in the baseline. The baseline does not apply. The baseline is literally the chalk lines that are down the third baseline and the first baseline. So it's their obligation. They're the ones that have to allow that fielder to make the play, either by stopping, running behind, running around, whatever. A runner hit by a batted ball, that's considered interference as well. So we can kill that, and we will, the person that creates the interference is the other side of this. They're the ones that we call out. So the batter hits the ball, the runner going from second to third interferes, and that runner from second to third is going to be the one we call out. The batter is awarded first base, and then everybody else goes back to where they started. unless they're forced to the next base. All right. Obstruction. This is always a fun one. So baseball we've seen has really kind of brought this to light to folks because a lot of people that play slow pitch softball have baseball
Hey, Dallas.
backgrounds. Yep.
Going back to what you just said about the interference, the runner going second to third is out, and then the batter is awarded first base. What about if the infielder is still able to make that play? Let's say it's a ground ball. The runner tries to interfere with the shortstop. Let's just say, so you have an interference call in there, but he's still able to make the play and throw the guy out running down to first. So would that still be an out, wouldn't it? He was still able to make the play. The batter's just not awarded first base, or is that like a dead ball thing?
So interference, we're going to have immediate dead ball. But if you deemed it took away their opportunity to make a second out, then you can call that other person out as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So out number one is going to be on that runner. Going from second to third, and if the guy falls going out of the batter's box or something, and you're like, yeah, he was going to get that guy out, by judgment, you can have a second out on that, but it's an immediate dead ball. Okay, good question, Ryan. All right, obstruction. So this is the defensive side. We talked about the offensive side is interference. The defensive side is obstruction. And that's the act of the defensive team who impedes the progress of a runner or batter runner who's legally running the bases unless the fielder is one, in possession of the ball, or two, in the act of fielding a batted ball. So let's talk about that. So it's obstruction if a defensive player is blocking the base or base path without the ball and the runner or batter runner is impeded. So how is a batter runner or a runner going to demonstrate to us that they are impeded? More times than not, we see this happen at home plate in the slow pitch game. We've got a runner starts on second base. There's a hit to the outfield. They're going to try to score. That catcher is standing, literally blocking home plate. The runner rounds third. They're coming home. They either have to stop because the catcher's in our way, they have to slow down, or they have to alter their path and go around him. Those are how they demonstrate if they're obstructed. And all this is before that catcher has the ball. Once the catcher has the ball, they're allowed to be there. But if that runner has to slow down, stop, alter their path, run around the person, and they don't have the ball, that's when we're going to have obstruction. Now, just because the runner is obstructed, that doesn't give them carte blanche to run over the catcher. So we still have to avoid contact just because they're obstructed. But those are the signs we want to look for. It happens more in the slow pitch game at home plate than anywhere else, just because that's where it seems like the delayed play. Most of the other stuff happens for us as station to station, base to base, but they can't be blocking that base and have the runner stop, slow down, alter their path without having the ball. Any questions on that, Tom?
Yeah, Brad, I'm Brad. Actually, Brad has a question. Go back to interference.
Yep.
The question is there a possibility of verbal interference?
So that is where the confused portion of this definition comes into play. There certainly is, if you deem that somebody said something vocally to confuse the defense in making the play, and it has to be an offensive team member or player, then we're going to have what you would deem verbal interference. But yeah, so that's where confuse is in there. Everything else is physical, the impedes or hinders, but confuses adds that verbal aspect. So if somebody hollers something like "I got it" or "get out of the way" or whatever they do to confuse that defender that's making the play, then we would have interference on that, Brad.
And that's a great question. And you can just about be guaranteed that on interference or obstruction, you're going to have a conversation. So to have the verbiage from the rule to be able to recite is a great deal. Because, you know, that by saying impedes, hinders, or confuses, you know, there, you can recite the rule.
Good questions. Okay. So again, just obstruction one more time. They have to have the ball to be in the way. If they're not, and that runner has to stop, go around, slow down, whatever, then we're going to have obstruction and award bases there. Did one more pop in the chat, Tom?
It did, and it said, and God forbid umpire interference.
Yeah, that's get out of the way. That's what I'm going to tell you. We're not going to cover that in here. Usually it's just on the base umpire, and majority of the stuff that we're talking about in umpire is one umpire system. So, but yes, there.
Even at that, it'd be more obstruction than interference.
Yeah. All right, moving on through obstruction. Tag, this the big one I want to talk about with a tag is when a tag is happening, if the fielder is tagging the runner with the glove, the ball is in the glove. If the fielder is tagging the runner with the hand, the ball is in the hand. You can't, it's not like a force play where any part of the body can touch the runner. It has to be what is holding the ball and what is touching the runner. That's what it comes down to. All right. Here we go. Shorthanded rule. So this one comes up, it seems like almost every weekend for those of you that umpire tournaments, but I want other people to know this is what it stems from. The shorthanded rule is what allows teams to start with 10 or 11 players if they're using the extra player and finish with one less than they started with. So if it happens where somebody leaves, and none of this is because of ejection. Ejection is its own thing. This is if somebody has to leave to go to take their kids somewhere, if they're injured and they have to come out of the game, or if a team only has 9 and by rule, you know, they have to have 10 to play. This is how we address it. So if they start with one less, so they start with 9, the vacant spot we list last in the batting order, and an out is recorded when the vacant position in the batting order is scheduled to bat. So we get through 9 batters. That 10th spot is going to be an out. Oops. The other side of this is if they do shrink, well, I won't say shrink. If somebody leaves because of injury, it's the same thing. That position spot in the batting order is going to receive that out. So if they're batting 4th and they twist their ankle and they can't go anymore, we don't just drop down, even though they started the game with 10. If now we're playing with 9, that 4th spot when it comes up is always going to be an out. Now this might be different in your league play. So this is one of them that you want to make sure of if you can shrink the order and those types of things. But more times than not, it seems like every weekend we have to deal with this at the tournament side of things. And I just want everybody to be kind of clear on that. It's an out if you start with or end the game or start the game with less than you started with. Any questions on that?
There's none in the chat.
I love it. All right. I'm going to take a little break. Tom's going to take over. And he's got a video from USA Softball that he's going to show us. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'll let Tom take over the screen.
All righty.
And I'll man the chat, Tom, while you're working through that.
Okay, sounds good. I just need to get to where I'm trying to get to in a second. Talk amongst yourselves. You can hear it. Well. Try one more time here. Finally. Okay, this is the video I got today. It's promoting USA softball, both all the different games. It also has a little piece in here on umpires, so I thought it was interesting. All right, well, I thought that was, good to see. I don't know if you noticed, but they had a slide in there that said best trained umpires, and I would hope that's where we're getting to tonight. So just wanted to show you that for now. Dallas?
All right, we'll just jump back in quick. I just got a couple things, and then Tom's going to wrap up with discussion regarding the registration process. So let me just get back into mine. So living in Minnesota here and umpiring in Minnesota, we have lots of opportunities for slow pitch. For whatever reason, our slow pitch in our state is doing well. For those of you that get out of state a little bit in umpire, you realize how good we have it, but we have a lot of high level stuff. So not only do we have your local league games for your communities that you're umpiring, but literally every weekend throughout the state of Minnesota, starting in April, we have slow pitch tournaments available. So if you are looking to move up as being a league umpire to work some tournament stuff on the weekends, if there's you're currently working tournaments and you want to work more, there's plenty of opportunity out there for those of you that are looking to umpire more games. Our state tournaments for the slow pitch world, we run all of those in August, and we have every level from the men's open to the men's C, D, and E, women's, and also co-ed state tournaments. And those are held at different sites throughout the state. This year, again, we are fortunate we get to host a couple national championships. So we're going to have at the end of August, the men's D Northern National, which brings anywhere from 40 to 50 teams in, and it'll be down at Treasure Island Resort and Casino in Prairie Island. And same with the men's C National Championship this year. That's going to be held in Minnesota at Treasure Island as well, and it'll be Labor Day weekend. So a lot of opportunity for those of you that are looking to umpire maybe more games or higher level games. There's a lot of things out there for you that you can move into. And again, for those of you that are looking to better your umpiring abilities and skills, every year throughout the region, we host a national umpiring school. This one is April 23rd and 24th. It'll be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I believe the fee is $75 to attend. It usually includes some things like gifts and meals. It is a 2-day event, which includes classroom and on the field type training. And let's say the weather's bad, I know they've got some indoor facilities secured for that. But if you are looking to improve your umpiring abilities and skills and maybe get some higher level games or progress towards a national championship, you can attend that National Umpire School in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Finally, we're going to have Tom move into the registration side of things, and everything that we've talked about tonight is housed on our state softball website. So this has changed a little bit from the past. We used to be www.mnsoftball.com, but to house things and in the format that we're looking for, not just for umpire stuff, just for all information softball related in Minnesota for USA softball. This is our new website. It's tournaments.mnsoftball.com. So no www or anything in front of it. It's just tournaments.mnsoftball.com. And this is what Tom is going to navigate for you now, just to show you what that looks like.
Okay. Good. All these things you think you got just all kinds of figured out, and it doesn't always work that way, but it will. All right, there we go. So that's the home page of our website. A lot of times when I send you links, I take you right to softball. So, I take you right to umpires. Here, there's all kinds of stuff in here. I mean, it's about the different programs, youth, whatever. Our biggest concern is umpires. So if you go to the umpire page, that's where we also do the registration. This is a tutorial.
I'm an umpire. I want to register for the next season. First, I must create a user account. Find the sign up option on the menu. Fill out the page, agree to the terms, and then create the account. The system will automatically log you in after creating your account. You will now see the user dashboard and will be placed on the My Family tab. Click the umpire registration menu and then select the season. Select your registration type, then fill out the credit card information and submit your payment. After completion, I can verify everything went through by clicking on my name and looking for the registered umpire shield on my personal page.
All right, so that's I believe it's a nice tutorial. We also have the different tabs over here. Our umpire insurance coverage plan has the specifics in there. And remember that with our insurance, it is a supplemental type insurance, meaning that it will cover part of your deductibles or what your primary insurance doesn't cover. Also, we have we got the rule book here. We got the umpire manual. We got a registration form for the people that have a hard time navigating the computer. They can print it out, mail it in. We got a link here to our umpire sales website. So it takes us right to official gear if you want to order shirts and things like that. We also have some umpire training things. So if you go to umpire training, we've got 2 different types of training. If you click on it, there's several videos in there. What Dan Pfeffer did, our commissioner, he went in and grabbed all the little animations out of the umpire manual. So those are in there. We've got this year's fast pitch things here, and that we can go in and get the training. On the slow pitch, we've got it over on the on our YouTube channel. So here is the beginner slow pitch, and then we've got our fast pitch also. We're going to have the other slow pitch there as well. So we've got a couple areas that we have our training in. So I just wanted to show you that a little bit. Umpire clinics. Sometimes I got to trick it a little bit here. We've got umpire awards. If you are up for an umpire award, let us know. We have umpire awards that start at 3 years and go up from there. The umpire clinics, obviously you're taking part in one of them. We've got a couple of in-person ones that are still to be held. Like Dallas said, technology is taking us a lot further. So we're probably going to be doing a lot more with what you're seeing now. The only thing we do in addition is like mechanics clinics where we can actually show you positioning and rotations and things like that. That might be done at a state umpire school, or another way to do that is if we have some tournaments maybe early in the season to have a couple of clinicians attend and then have the umpires work the games, get paid for them, but then be observed. So that's about all I have on that one. So I will stop sharing. And then Dallas, you can go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to move in. The last step for tonight is, since Tom showed us about registration, all that good stuff, is just to get credit for attending this evening's clinic. So in the past, we've had, registration forms. So we're using a SurveyMonkey, and I'm just, Tom's going to post the SurveyMonkey link
Yes.
in the chat. So go ahead and click on that link when it comes up. And I'm just going to hopefully show you. There we go. So here's the site as well. And this will be for folks that are either attending tonight or also people that'll watch this in the future. This is the SurveyMonkey link site to go use. But Tom is posting that in the chat for you to click on and to submit for your attendance. Aside from, go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry, Dallas. The reason we're doing that is it's great to see who is attending, who is putting forth the effort. That way, if we have several people that want to do a state tournament, do a national tournament, maybe we can use that as a incentive. If you attend clinics, you have a better shot at getting some nice assignments. So,
could I ask a question?
sure.
This is Doug Jakacki in South St. Paul. I want to tell you, I don't consider myself illiterate on the computer, but I went through the video of the registration today. It took me a while to get registered. It certainly took my money. I never ended up on that page that said my family is us. I went in and out of it. I spent 40 minutes going in and out of that thing.
I go right along with that, 100%. Same problem.
I'm just really tired of Zoom. It's partly a Zoom thing. I don't use Zoom that often, but if you're going to tell me this is simple and easy, either I need more instructions, maybe, or something else. But I am just frustrated with the amount of time I spent. Probably the 40 minutes this morning and then 20 minutes getting on to Zoom to take in this meeting. I'd also like to know, do I need to register and pay my fee before I can attend the meeting? Or could I have attended the meeting and registered and paid my fee after? I had no idea, so I just paid. It certainly took my money right away, but
Ditto.
I guess I can address that, Doug.
And you know what? When I sent in a message about it, Tom, I didn't get a response from you. I got a response from some digital website or something. I didn't hear from Dallas about it at all. I mean, I'm just saying, who's communicating with us, or tell me that I'm not literate enough to take in the Zoom meeting. But I just, maybe there was an easier route that I didn't quite see, but.
Sure. Well, Doug, the email that you responded to came from me where you said thank you on it. It might have been from my Gmail account.
Okay, well, it didn't have anything that looked like your name. So I thought maybe you forwarded it to whoever the software provider was. And then they told me that I needed to follow up on this invitation. And even when I had this invitation, I had to find out that I need to download Zoom onto my device and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I should know that, but that's fine. I got through that. So
I got the
anyways,
same thing. No registration confirmation, put in all my details from my credit card, and nothing showed up under my name. I still don't know if I registered, but I'll be damned if I'm going to put the same information in twice and get charged twice to figure out how to retrieve it back again. No.
I never
I've
found
seen-
the My Family site, whatever My Family is supposed to be about. I never found that. So I checked out. I went to tournaments, minnesotasoftball.com. I couldn't get back into that site to find My Family at all.
All right, well, I tell you what we can do is, the site was developed through our commissioner, and we can get that feedback, that's about.
That's Right. Maybe 42 others didn't have that trouble, but I'm just saying, I don't consider myself illiterate on it, but
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
And,
Thank you
to
for
answer your
listening. I'm still
question
gonna
about,
umpire this year.
to answer your question about if you can pay first or register first, you can do it in any order. And you could have watched the meeting, could have registered, could have paid later, whatever.
But with my delays, I didn't know that. I thought, well, maybe I have to pay my bill first in order to attend the meeting. I didn't really know. So anyways, I plan on umpiring. Thank you for your time.
Sure. Anything else?
Yeah, same thing. Is there some follow-up to this? Do we know whether we registered or not? It's not showing it on the screen.
Well, I can sure check into it. It's Lee Churchill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this is frustrating as all hell. I truly did the very same thing that the gentleman just spoke. And I'm frustrated as heck. I went through it over and over and over again. Again, I never got a confirmation of my registration, which normally you would do. And when I go back to try and find, my name and, if you've got that medallion or whatever on the right side, nothing showed me that there. Now, I'm not saying I'm not computer challenged, but I followed exactly the directions as they were printed there. And I do not have any confirmation to know whether or not that credit card was received or not.
Okay, I will get that that message along, and I'll check on your registration, somebody put in there, there's still the paper option, if you want to print out a paper form and attach the check to it, that's fine as well.
Well, again, I don't want to double pay. I mean, it
I understand.
appears like the thing took my credit card, but it's not showing it in the system.
Okay. Well, you'll have an answer you'll get an email from me tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Phil.
Hang on. I just wanted to commend both you and Dallas for conducting this seminar. It was outstanding and people did not have to drive anywhere. And I think everybody that's probably involved here appreciates this. And I think Dallas did a great job answering questions when needed. And I think the comment or the chat thing is great. And I just wanted to thank you guys for that. And I learned one thing tonight. I can't any longer put that line behind home plate to tell whether it's a ball or a strike.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Tom, this is Tracy Tremblay. Following on both of those, all three of those comments, I think the sessions I attended last week recorded, and that was helpful. And but when you go to the dashboard on the page on the tournament softball team or page or whatever, and it's under the umpire after you've said it says view print your 2022 card. Is there supposed to be information there to confirm the registration, kind of building on the other two gentlemen's comments? Because again, my page is filled in, but I was trying to understand how I'm supposed to confirm that I'm registered, or if I'm supposed to have a number or something. And I think that's something others might need, but is there supposed to be a number on there, or?
I don't believe Dan is using that card yet, and I gotta apologize because I am not 100%. Unfortunately, the timing on this website was tough. It came up just, as our registration started, and there's still plenty to be done. So no, there isn't a card right now.
Okay, that's it. But as long as that page is filled out, then we're registered, right? So.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Dallas,
Yeah, Carol, go ahead.
I'm on my phone. I don't have the energy to sit at the computer. How does this survey, am I gonna get this on my phone? This Survey Monkey thing?
I believe you can click on chat there. Otherwise, I can email it out to you, Carol. I'll do that.
Will you please?
Yep.
And I was just thinking, I haven't registered yet, but listening to other people, well, I'll just check my credit card to see if it's been charged. And
Good
then
idea.
I'll know I paid.
Good idea. Thank you.
Okay, I'm signing off.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
Dallas, Tom, I got a quick question for you guys. So as I'm umping, I always try to explain to a player and back USA softball rules. But every year in the 8-9 tournaments, at some point throughout the weekend that I'm doing them, this inevitably comes up and I can't back this rule. When a team bats through the order and they had somebody they're pinch running for, courtesy running, I should say, and they bat through the order and that person comes back up again. The courtesy runner rule, I know it gets abused and that's why we went to this, but it was made up for somebody who is injured so they don't have to run. They come back up a second time through the order and now we say, oh, this time you got to run, loser. I've never understood why USA softball doesn't fix that to say that that same runner can be used twice in an inning.
Okay. What's your question?
Well, is there a way like you guys can present that to the national committee on something or anything? Because it's crazy. We do these tournaments. Yeah, you can run for this guy who's hurt, but now you batted through the order. So now he's got to go out there and potentially injure himself again. We allowed you to run for him once, but we're not going to allow you to run for him again because you batted through the order.
Sure.
It just seems like you're getting penalized, which is kind of ridiculous.
So
Hey,
I'll address that.
Dallas,
Yep.
Can I address that?
Please, Phil. Thank you.
That was meant so that 2 or 3 people weren't hurt and you were running for them. That's what it was for.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get it. And I am all for the one person. But I just think if that one person you're running for comes up in that same inning again when you bat through the order, it makes no sense. There couldn't be a stipulation in the USA rule saying you can run for that person again should they happen to bat twice in that inning and get on.
Hey, Dallas, I got a comment on this too.
Go ahead, Ryan.
You also have to realize it's just more times than not, especially in tournaments, they're not being used for someone that's hurt. They're being used for the fat, slow guy, whether it's a pitcher, an EH, a catcher. So yeah, absolutely. That person should have to run the second time. I mean, it does totally suck about the injury thing, but more times than not, especially in these tournaments, they're being used for the big, slow guy. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Okay, and that's where I was going to go, Ryan. Thanks for your input, and Phil, you as well. Is what we talked about tonight isn't intended for league play, that rule. It's intended for our state tournaments, the invitational tournaments that decide they want to use it, and the national championship. And why there's that higher level of standard is because on weekend tournaments, state tournaments, and national championships, people are playing for something more than a Tuesday night league game. So we can make it as liberal as you like in your leagues. But when it comes down to it, like Ryan said and Phil alluded to, it's not for that injured person, because in those instances, they're not going to have that injured person play that can't run. It's for the competitive side of things because they're playing for a championship or monetary awards.
Say, Dallas.
Yeah.
This is David Legan. I want to thank you and Tom for a conservative refreshment of the rules tonight. So thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
Yep, you're welcome.
We'll hang on here as long as people have questions to ask. So that's no problem.
Hey, Dallas, also another comment on it. And let's not forget, chances are tournament league, you got more than enough players that are sitting on the bench that you can also use a pinch runner in that situation too, if your courtesy runner has already been used.
That's correct.
But also, Dallas, you said this, if you're batting around the order and he's coming up again, What's it saying? You know, you're in your league and you got your team batting around and you want to pinch run for him, a courtesy run for him again. I've got no sympathy.
Fair enough.
I tend
Anybody
to-
else?
Well, I tend to agree with Phil on that. We give these guys way too much leniency on things like that. They should get no runner the second time through.
And I'm gonna
In
and I'm
league,
gonna
it's different. In tournament, I absolutely think we need to stick as hard to that as possible.
and for those of us that has been around for a while, we used to never have a national courtesy runner rule or a tournament courtesy runner rule. So you never got a runner at all, except in your league plays or if a specific weekend tournament allowed it. So when USA Softball added this, and they've made a couple changes since it's been added, just as far as the verbiage goes, but they're opening it up to allow for those instances when we have, you know, a pseudo injured individual or as Ryan said, the big fat guy running, to have some leeway with that and to get more participation. So we're still in the infancy of this rule, and it may change down the road based off of input. But I don't foresee it coming in the near future.
Okay, how we
Any-
doing? People got things, any more things to questions, comments? Lori, can you hear me? I'm wondering if you got your link figured out.
The runner rule keeps us old guys playing.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Lori.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. And I still can't find that Facebook page that somebody listed above.
So Chris Collins mentioned like a Facebook page, I think, for.
Yeah, we started a Facebook page at the end of last year, so all the assigners would have one spot to throw last minute openings, you know, on Thursday night before Saturday morning. But when we get our final schedules and we realize we need that extra umpire, or you know somebody's out on a Thursday night, if we can get as many umpires on there and get all the assigners. Anybody who needs to find umpires on there would be a great way to not have to make phone call after phone call after phone call, text message. Who do you know? You know what I mean? Try to get everybody in one spot that's interested in picking up extra games. And
Chris, what's the Facebook page?
It's I typed it in a little bit wrong. Hang on, let me pull it up here. It's USA. Or hang on.
Could you just put it in the chat, Chris?
I did, but I typed it in wrong. I'll type it back into the chat in a second here.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Let me find it here.
I liked this format for the meeting too. Thank you. I thought it was very well organized and well done, and I like how you allowed for questions throughout. So thank you.
Good.
No doubt.
Thanks. Good feedback.
Tom Dallas, thank you. Ryan Long signing off.
All right. Have a good season.
See you, Ryan. And if anybody else that's online right now was not able to click on that SurveyMonkey link by chance, I'm getting a couple of people just direct messaging me to email it out to them. Just let me know, and I will email that to you.
Hey, good meeting, guys.
Thanks,
Chris.
Steve. And again, for everybody that's still on, this is an infancy for us. This is a starting point. We're going to grab, different material annually. We're going to, again, try to make it the beginner umpire, advanced umpire, experienced umpire segments. And, throughout the year, if you run into stuff, whether it's plays, whether it's stuff you see people having trouble with, go ahead and send it our way, because we want to put what's relevant out there and what's going to help umpires, across the board, one, be better, and two, be on the same page. So we're always open to input. This was, again, Tom mentioned, we kind of put this together the 11th hour, but please send any recommendations throughout the year. Reach out to us however you like.
And what Dallas said, we usually train on the past year's test questions that were answered most incorrectly. We actually had a test last year that was answered 98% wrong. So obviously that is a training topic for us. And when we ask you to do exams, this year we don't have one on our new website, but we will next year. And when we ask you to do exams, it's not meant to say this person got 7 wrong, or whatever. It's meant to find out for us what we need to train on. So
I have another comment for you guys. I know I don't want to make work for you guys, but obviously not everybody got on this Zoom call tonight. Are you going to try to do another one for the people that didn't?
we actually have, we've taped this, recorded this, so they'll have the opportunity to go to the website and
Oh, nice.
and review it. And that's another reason why we put that survey link in there, in the presentation.
Say, Tom, my apologies, Lee Churchill here again. I know somebody's going to respond to me about the registration. And although I wrote down this monkey survey, could I be included in that monkey survey, the email that you sent to me?
Yeah,
I'd
no
appreciate it.
problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Lee, if you're still on, can you enter your email in the chat, and I will just forward it to you right now.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, to everyone. Okay.
Yeah, I can go to everyone. It's all right.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Do I have to push enter to send it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
They're popped in there. I'll send it to you right now.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I really did enjoy the conversation tonight. There were several rules that are always somewhat contemplative. And it's funny, the more years you do it, I think what you said earlier is very true, that you tend to bend the rules a little bit and you tend to try and help them, and you don't always stick by the rule book. And of course, doing that sets a bad precedent, number one, but it gets things sometimes confused in your brain. As an example, that throw of the ball from the outfield or the infield, always being 2 bases. Boy, I tell you, there's a contraption for you. I don't know about you guys, as long as you've been doing this, but I tend to get back into that thinking of, oh yeah, infield 1 base, outfield 2. Man, if you don't hear this reported to you once every 2 years, it's pretty darn easy to forget.
And that's why we grab that talking point and that specific play. Because we get out, we're at tournaments, we're working them, we're UICing at them, whatever it is. But yeah, this is stuff we grab from those events that we're at. And again, we're not everywhere. So if you run into something goofy throughout the year, send it our way, and we can, one, address it with you, and then 2, we can add it probably to next year's, because if you're having that issue, then other people might be having the same problem as well. And not it's a problem, but just information, right?
Sure. No, that's great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Well, yeah, 9:25. Let's maybe wrap it up, unless anybody else has any final questions. I love it.
We're fortunate that
thanks.
We're fortunate to have you and Dallas, you and Tom, and in our organization. I'm telling everybody.
Well, good. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's call it a wrap. Everybody have a good season. And then like Dallas said, the lines of communication are open. So we just reach out.
Have a great night.
See ya.